Swinburne University of Technology.
In this video we are going to look at how to use an if statement when we're writing a function. We're also going to see the return function as well. So I've written a short function here and I've called mean or median, and we can have a look. I've got a comment here. So this function calculates either the mean or median of a vector. So it has two arguments. The first one is variable, so it's going to be our variable that we're calculating the mean or the median of. And then our second one is stat. And so stat was where we're going to have to specify if it is mean or median. And you can see that I have a default that stat equals mean. So if I don't tell it whether to calculate the mean or the median, then it is going to calculate the mean. So we have the statement here, if, and so if stat equals mean, then we calculate the mean of variable. And it's within a return statement. Basically a return statement kind of is what it sounds like. When we do this calculation, instead of just printing it out to the screen, it actually gets passed back into R. So if we were to assign the value from this function to a new variable, it would end up being the mean or the median of this variable. So there's one thing that's a little bit sloppy with this function. So I've got an if and then I've got an else. So what it does is it checks if, so if the stat equals mean, it's going to do the mean, and then it's got an else, so it's saying in all other cases calculate the median. So this is purposely a little bit sloppy, so I could talk about it. So if I type stat equals median, it's going to return the median, but I could write stat equals cats, and it's still going to return the median because it isn't reading what the words are. It's just saying, well, either you said mean or you said something else. So let's test this one, and then we'll look at what we could do to make it a little bit better. So we'll pass it down, and so if we make some data and we go mean or median of x and stat equals mean, and the mean of our numbers 1 to 10 is 5.5, and if we say median, it probably wasn't a very good example, was it, because the median's also 5.5. So maybe if we add an outlier in here, let's try it again. There's our mean, it's now 14, our median is 6. So the problem that I was mentioning before is that I can say something ridiculous and it's still just going to calculate the median. So what we can do is we can, whenever we have an else statement, we can actually turn that into an else if. So we can say if it says mean, do the mean, else if it says median, do the median, and otherwise we can give it an error message instead. Just before we do that, let's just also confirm that our default argument, if we just said x, we didn't say what stat, and there's the mean. So we can see that by using a default, it will default to calculating the mean. Okay, so I just paused the video then so I could make the changes to my function without you having to put up with my typing. So you can see that we've still got if stat equals mean, return the mean, but now I've got on the end of my else, I have an additional if. So if stat equals median, return the median, and then I've got another else which says print, and we've got this error message here, stat argument must be mean or median. So now we're catching out that person that's trying to type cats into their function by explicitly checking that they've said median, and if they haven't said mean and they haven't said median, then we give them an error message. So you'll notice that RStudio, as we put more functions on here, it will do some nice indenting for us. It makes it a lot easier to read our code if we have kind of each level being indented. The other thing that I did is on my if statements I used some more of these squiggle brackets. So I didn't really need to. I could have been jamming return just on the end of my if line, but it starts to get a bit messy when we do that. And so it's a good habit just to have the curly brackets, and it's an absolute necessity if we've got more than one line of code. So maybe where we've got if stat equals mean and we actually wanted 2 or 3 lines of code where it did several different things, then we would absolutely need the curly brackets so that we could fit several lines of code, and R would know that all of the stuff happens when this if statement, the stat equals mean, is true. So let's send it down and let's have a check. So let's check our silly one first. Mean or median x stat equals cats, and so now it says no, you're being silly. But we can go and check our mean, and we can check our median, and so now we have a nice function where we've seen how to use an if statement to allow our function to do some decision making. In bigger functions we're probably going to have quite a few if statements because that's going to allow us to have a lot more flexibility in our function and have the function making choices based on the inputs that we're giving it.
This has been a Swinburne production.